Hello everyone, this is Anita from Happiness Factors, and today you are listening to the Happiness Factors podcast where we talk about everything mental wellness. We want you to be happy, healthy, and keep smiling. And today I have the pleasure to introduce Danielle Olbrantz, who not just has a huge heart and helps everyone. She also had successfully managed a blended family, and today I would like to talk to her about that. And without much further ado, Danielle, would you like to say some introduction about yourself?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you, Anita. I'm excited to be here. I love your energy and just commitment to spreading the world with more happiness. So
Thank
that
you.
is definitely a beautiful mission. Thank you so much. So I am a mother of four. That's how I introduce myself always, but technically I have two kids of my own and two bonus kids from my husband. So we've been together close to 15 years. And when we met, we had, let's see, a 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old, and 7-year-old.
Wow.
So it was a little, different of a dating process because we went kind of in reverse. We jumped right into being a, full happy family and
Nice.
raising a bunch of kids together. So now they are just about 17. My youngest will be 17 next week. And then we have a just about 18-year-old, a 19-year-old, and a 21-year-old. So we are almost on the tail end of successfully getting them all through to adulthood.
Wow, that's really impressive.
Yeah.
So, when you guys first met, did you have any misgivings because both of you had such young kids at that time?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the idea of putting 4 kids together is overwhelming. I was very sure when I had 2 kids that that was all I wanted, and 2 was perfect, and I was done. So 4 kids was not in the plan, and for either of us, I think. We had both been through, first marriages that didn't work out as planned, and we took a really long time to commit to being a family under one roof. So we did things very slowly. I think it was probably 5 or 6 years before we moved in together.
Nice.
Because, with kids that young, there's a lot of extra complications. And I think most importantly, we wanted to make sure for the kids' sake that we weren't putting them through, a relationship if it wasn't 100% going to be a forever relationship, right? We'd already both been through divorce, and that can be hard on kids. So we took our time. We, figured out what worked for both of us and kind of navigated it. But to say it was always easy would be absolutely, well, it would just be a lie. It was not always easy. In fact, it was very hard. I think in a lot of ways, co-parenting can be more challenging than regular parenting.
Yes.
You kind of get in a groove with your own kids, and there's a underlying acceptance that, you love them no matter what, right? I think in most cases, in a healthy parent-child relationship, your child just knows that you love them. And even if you're upset with them or disciplining them, there's that understanding that there's love. And it's different with a stepchild. You have to navigate that carefully because there can be hurt feelings and just different ways of doing things. The oldest was 7 when we got together, and by 7 they have some kind of established boundaries and rules that may not be in line with how my kids had rules, and it was challenging, but it was worth it. We worked really hard at it, though. It was a lot of work.
That just shows how big-hearted you were, and also you put your kids before you, because that's why you waited so long to see if they gel together or not. That's really amazing, and not many people do that in this day and age, right? So it's very refreshing.
I think in some ways that was probably one of our missteps, is I think for even after we decided to move everybody in together, I think for a few years we still kind of put the kids first. And as I'm going through raising them a little bit older, I'm starting to see that we probably would have had better successes or an easier path if we come together first as, as partners and then to the kids, where in a lot of ways we kind of each parented separately for instance circumstances, and that caused a little bit of friction. But I think with all things, you don't know until you live through it that you have regrets or, wish you had done things just a little bit differently. But all things considered, I don't think we made any huge mistakes.
That's great. So how was it when you guys first decided to get together and the kids were introduced to each other? Did they become instantly friends, or initially there was some kind of self-consciousness or not getting together?
We got very lucky. Our kids get along all really well. We did it very slowly and gradually. We'd meet up at a park and the kids would play kind of just as friends, and we were not there as a couple when we did that. So we weren't giving them anything to feel threatened or uncomfortable about. We were just letting them play and become friends and meet at an amusement park, go on day trips, things like that. We each had other, parents, so their biological parents on the other side. And so we would try to coordinate our parenting time so that we would overlap and get some time together and sometime not. For a few years, we did it on opposite schedules, which that was kind of the transition period. So we would have, I would have my kids, I would be home, but then I would switch and I would go to his house, and we could kind of be there on opposite times. So it was only one set of kids at a time, which I think allowed the kids to get comfortable with the other parent or the step parent without having the conflict of other kids.
Yeah.
It's kind of last step to put all the kids
together. Oh, that's nice. You guys are very smart and wise to do that.
Very step by step. And, by the time we moved them all together and had them all at the same time, they knew each other so well at that point. And I think in many cases, they get along better with their step siblings than they do with their own biological siblings. Like the tension that we have tends to happen within the the biological sibling pieces of things. But I think they get along great.
Nice. And was there any initially interference from the biological parents of you guys getting the kids together?
That's a whole episode all in itself. We had quite a bit of tension and disagreements and everything else, and eventually we ended up having full custody of all of the kids.
Oh, that's nice.
So those problems kind of dissolved themselves, and now the kids can have relationships with their other parent, more adult way, where they just to decide when and how they want those relationships to go. But it was hard. There was a lot of stuff to navigate. On top of raising 4 kids, you also had these demands of other parents and problems with other parents and things like that. But that's
so
life.
How did you guys handle it? What was your technique, or what are some of the things you did which made it work out for you guys?
I think we probably made some errors on some of that. We kind of kept a line where it was, he could make the ultimate decision on his kid's side of things. I could make the ultimate decision on my kid's side of things, and would try to consult the other person, but ultimately we left the power up to, the parent to make the decision on how things were going to go. And we didn't always agree. And I think we just kind of accepted that we weren't going to always agree on things, and that was okay. And that, one of the reasons why I fell in love with him so much is he's such an amazing dad. He's a great father, and he cares so much about his kids. And so if I take that mindset of he's an amazing father and I know he cares about his kids, then I'm not really anyone to judge whether what he's deciding for them is right or wrong. And
that's true.
So
and so in some of the cases I've seen that when blended families get together, then the guy is not supposed to even scold the other person's kids because he's not the biological father. Or so did that kind of situation happen with you guys, or you guys were pretty much open to it?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you're living in a household,
Yes.
there's a expectation that parents still have a level of authority
Uh-huh.
and a obligation to be respected.
Yes.
And so certainly if that line was crossed,
Uh-huh.
either parent had full authority to discipline. But if it had to do with, school or things that didn't really directly involve the non-biological parent,
Yeah.
I think we were more inclined to let the other parent kind of handle their kids from a discipline level, unless it directly affected us.
Yes.
That just seemed to work the easiest for us.
Uh-huh.
I think going back, if I could have changed things, we probably would have consulted more on a, case by case basis together, and then kind of go as a united front, because anytime you create division, I think kids can work that angle a little bit and use it to their advantage. And so that definitely happened in our household. He said, she said, and different rules. So I'd probably do it slightly differently, but just ultimately trusting the person that you're partnered with to make the best decisions.
Nice.
You would have, if you were a couple with biological kids, I think you would kind of operate the same way.
That's nice. That's amazing. And since I have the privilege of knowing both of you, I know you guys have such great hearts, right? But how was it like?
So we're very lucky that we have great kids.
Now you guys did a great job. That's why you have great kids, right?
Thank you. It was not always easy, but they are amazing kids, and we are very lucky. It's fun now as they are turning into adults to just kind of observe them as people rather than as parents. And just, the youngest one being nearly 17, she doesn't need a whole lot of parenting. She needs, advice and certainly guidance, but it's fun to watch them navigate those things on their own. And, I feel lucky that all of our kids come to us for advice, which is,
that's so nice.
I feel like that's my determination of whether I did a good job or not, is whether they're willing to include me in their problems and their successes.
Wow, that's amazing. And how was it raising 4 teenagers?
But we're not done, so it's still ongoing. But it was. I mean, there's a lot of, when you have 4 kids that are close together, right? Yeah. So they're very kind of year by year spaced. There's a lot of other stuff that you have to deal with, we had to buy 4 cars basically in a row. We're on college number 2 and we've got 2 more to go. We're going to have 4 weddings in a row. Everything was kind of back to back. So financially it added a whole lot of extra obligation, but it also kind of meant that we got through everything kind of at the same time. So we didn't have a big gap of, raising kids. It was just kind of one massive push to the finish line. But at one point we had 4 kids in 4 schools between 2 different counties.
Wow.
How did you manage that? That was a juggle. So when the last one got her driver's license, I think I bought her car 2 months before she had a driver's license, because I was so excited for the level of freedom that it was going to give me. I do miss our time together in the car, getting to drive her to school and things like that. You don't get those years back, but it's so nice now that they can kind of get themselves to all the stuff. That was probably the hardest part of raising teenagers, especially because they have so many sports and school and friends and all the activities, and just trying to coordinate where everybody needed to be when. There were some days Paul and I didn't see each other, I'd come home from work and have to go straight to practice, and he'd come home to another practice, and we'd just kind of cross and say, "I'll see you tomorrow."
So how did you guys manage with your busy businesses, right? Because you guys are successful entrepreneurs as well as managing the 6 kids and all the activities. How were you guys able to find time for each, for all of them, and not get too stressed or too worn out in the process?
Well, I think we probably did get too stressed and too worn out sometimes, but that's okay, right? I feel like there's a season for everything, and that was the season. But honestly, I don't think we could have done it without being business partners, because when we originally first met, we were working both regular jobs at different places. We were both already in the mortgage industry, but we were working at separate places. And it was hard, because you each have different schedules and you have commitments to your job, not just to each other. So when we decided, actually, we bought our house like 2013, and that's when we moved in together for the first time. So, we bought the house, moved in together, and quit our jobs and started working together, like all within a 30-day period. And I think that really helped us, because being able to be self-employed together meant that we could come together to coordinate calendars and to coordinate like what was most important for us. And so we would sit down and kind of just figure out like, okay, well, who needs to be covering work? Who needs to be covering kids? How can we overlap to make everything work? And I don't think we would have been able to do that if we had company demands that didn't have a common goal. I don't think it would have worked. I'm sure it would have worked. Yes. People were doing it. So I don't know. It would have been a lot more challenging.
Yes. So like me, you guys dive in head first, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Didn't know whether you can swim.
Like, all right, all in, let's do this. And it kind of happened on accident that way, but it worked out beautifully. And I think, work just kind of became life, and life became work, and everything sort of intertwined. And so it wasn't like we had a work day and a home life. It was everything, just is part of life, including kids. And so the kids come with us to work sometimes. We take our work to kids sometimes. It just kind of all overlaps. And that's, I don't know. I prefer it that way, when you don't feel like you have a job that you have to clock in and out of, and instead you just feel like you're, kind of living life.
Awesome. And what kind of values did you guys teach your kids so that they become not just good kids, but become good human beings?
Yeah, I think helping others is definitely one of our joint core beliefs that we've both instilled in the kids. I think they know, over the years, there's always opportunity to show them that we have an obligation to help other people, whether that be volunteering or, during high school years, his daughter had a friend who needed a place to stay, and, we had her move in with us for a few months, and whatever we need to do to help others, I think is just fundamentally important. That's probably the biggest one. I'm starting to unwind a little bit my expectation of hard work for them. Yeah. That was more a drive for me, that I had this expectation that everybody has to be self-sufficient by a certain number of years. And as we get closer to those years, I'm realizing that we're in such a beautiful ability to help our kids, where they don't necessarily have to push out the door right at 18 years old. They can stick around a little bit, and they can make choices on what they want their future to look like. And I'm excited that I get to give that to them. They don't have to feel rushed out the door, that we can kind of help them through this like early adulthood. I think it's hard to be a teenager right now. It's hard to be a young adult, and especially in the San Francisco Bay Area,
It's so true.
Not practical for an 18-year-old to just move right out. So I think our values are changing as the needs of the kids change, and as we get a little bit older too. Yeah.
That's amazing, and I'm glad you are doing that, because in India, parents take care of their kids till, doesn't matter how long, right? Till they get the kids married.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I wanted to grow up when I was very young. So when I was 18 years old, I was, up and out of the house and ready to start my life and my career, and then quickly married and quickly having kids and all of those things. And I wouldn't change anything at all because everything's worked out exactly as it should, but it added a lot of extra pressure and stress that I hope my kids don't have to experience that. If they want to, that's their choice. But I don't want them to have to. And so.
No, that's really amazing because not every 18-year-old is mature enough to handle life on their own, right? And they fall into bad company or bad habits, and then it's another set of issues for the parents, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So what are some of the standout moments raising 4 kids in a blended family?
Gosh, COVID, actually, at the beginning of COVID was a really interesting time for us because they were all kind of, a little bit older. They were all in high school. And, at the beginning of COVID, none of us knew what to expect. And everything was locked down and we thought it was going to be only a few weeks. And so for a few weeks, we had all of the kids at home together in complete lockdown. And it was fun. We had a lot of fun. The kids were bored out of their minds, but they would create these game shows that we would play as a family at night. And, the game shows were silly. They would rank other members of the family according to how much they liked them and stuff.
Nice.
It became a fun little game that
very creative.
At the end of the night, there would be a grading system on how much my daughter cared for each one of us. And it was fun. We had a lot of fun those first few weeks. And then it became a long few weeks, but that's a whole nother story. But that was definitely a standout moment. And, trips and stuff that we've done. When Paul and I first got together, we didn't have a ton of money. We were rebuilding our lives. And so we did fun things, but we did them, on day trips and things like that. We didn't do a lot of travel and expensive things, but we would take the kids to the water park. That was kind of our go-to on the weekends. We would meet at the water park and take them on slides. We did a camping trip each year at Collins Lake. And, I remember the kids with their ice cream cones, and we bought a boat at one point that was it was fun. The kids, it was fun to kind of have some of those memories. And I think Paul and I each bring something completely different to the kids. My super strength is in the scheduling, with 4 kids, keeping our schedule together and the coordination of school supplies and sports and all the stuff. That was a lot of work. And I was really good at that. Paul brought this funniness to our lives that I didn't have because I was always so stressed out about making sure everything happened. And so we had a lot of fun. I'm very, very thankful for what he contributed to my kids' upbringing because I was stressed out a lot, and he brought another level to it that was really amazing. I'm thankful, my daughter especially, because she's been around him now since she was 3. He's a second dad as she's concerned, and so she's kind of inherited some of his personality traits, even though they're not genetically related. I see some things that she does, and I go, oh, that's 100% Paul's influence, and it's good. It's fun. Hope I do the same in some areas with his kids as well.
Nice. And if you had to change anything, what would you change?
Well, I think like we talked about, I think I would, in more circumstances, I would have made he and I as a united front more important, and focused more on making sure that we were in agreement before delivering things to the kids. I think when it's his kids, your kids, it can be very easy to just kind of not consider the other parent, and probably would have done a better job coming together first before making decisions, even if they're just my kids' situation.
So did it ever occur, sometimes suppose one of you buys suppose something for your own kids, and then the other person can't buy for their kids. Did that kind of a conflict occur?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, if it was an issue of they wanted to buy something and couldn't, the other one of us would have been resolved. But there was definitely circumstances in where we had differences of opinions on what they should have.
Okay.
Like take schooling, for example, college schooling. I feel very strongly that it's my obligation as a parent to pay for my children's next level education, college, whatever that looks like. Paul was raised differently. Paul was raised where you have to work and pay for those things yourself.
Yeah.
And so that was a pretty big difference of opinion, because now that we're been married a long time, all of our finances are joint. So it's no longer my money, your money, it's our money, and we've earned it together. And so that, those are big decisions that I think we didn't necessarily agree on. And it would have been easy for one kid to feel less, less than or whatever. But
less privileged. But in some of the families, like I've seen, like it happens, especially in the blended, like one person is buying more stuff for their kids, not buying for the other kids, and then, but that kind of situation did not occur with you guys, right?
No, I mean, I think the reality is that I'm the one that does most of the buying in the family. And so I always tried to just make it a point, if I was going school shopping for one, I went school shopping for all four, and
that's really nice.
That even just, because I'm more inclined to spend more, I think, than Paul is. So I didn't want his kids to feel left out about those things. So I don't think they did. I feel like that kind of worked out.
That's nice. I'm glad you guys met each other, because so complimentary and such great hearts, and like you guys care for everyone pretty much, right? Whoever needs help. That's really amazing.
I think so.
So what message will you give to someone who is having a relationship which might lead to a blended family later?
Well, I think it's important to kind of take it one day at a time. I do think it's important not to jump in too deep, too fast. I think it can be really unfair to kids to feel like they're in a family if the adults have not decided that they're in a permanent relationship with each other. And I see that happen, fairly frequently. And I think it's okay just to acknowledge that it's hard. I think a lot of co-parents expect that it's going to be easy, or that they're not going to have challenges. And I think it is completely appropriate and okay to go, this is a lot of work, and it's not necessarily what I was hoping for. And that's okay, right? Life brings us what we need, not necessarily what we were hoping for. But it's okay to admit that it's not always perfect.
That's true. Yeah. Life happens in its own way, right? It doesn't matter what and when and where we want it to happen.
Yeah, exactly. It's been the biggest lesson in life all the way around, I think, is you get not necessarily what you want, but it always turns out better. I mean, it really does. When I look back over the years, I just go, wow, I never would have planned it this way, but it sure did turn out even better than I could have pictured. I'm very lucky.
Because you have such a great heart, and you put in all the right amount of work. I would say, I won't just say hard work, because you also used your emotional intelligence a lot to make sure like all the kids are together and happy, and those things matter a lot, right?
Do matter. It's fun though. I mean, it really is. Our household is crazy. It's absolutely insane some days. It's absolutely insane. I have a habit of adopting animals too. So we have a bunch of dogs and a cat, and
how many?
We have 4 dogs, 1 cat, fit on animals, 4 kids. 1 is away from home, but we're taking in a few others. So the house keeps filling up, and
Nice. Abandoned house, right?
yeah, it's I was starting to get nervous because they're starting to get older, and I kind of turned to Paul. I was like, "What are we gonna do when the kids are gone? It's gonna be so quiet. Like, what are we gonna do?" And then more kids just keep showing up, so we won't have to worry about that for a while.
Yeah. So that's how my family was, because I'm one of the 8. So you can imagine 8 kids in one house. But my mom was so loving and caring. All her cousins, brothers, sisters would come over for the whole summer vacation with their 4 or 6 kids.
Oh my
And
goodness.
but we would have so much fun. And we would always have guests over because she was so caring. Because everyone wanted to visit us and stay at our house because she will always make fresh food for them or always take care of them, right? They felt welcome basically. So it was lots of fun with lots of people.
Yeah.
So
I honestly, I can't remember. I can't imagine how boring it would be if it were just, traditional and
yeah.
and as I expected initially,
Yeah.
The crazy is good. The crazy is the excitement of life.
That's so true. I totally agree. And having a good heart, right? Doing the best we can with what we have to help
Yeah.
people out.
That's the saying we say all the time,
Yeah.
it's just, we probably made a lot of mistakes, but we did the best we could given the situation and given the information that we knew at the time. And that's all you can be expected, right? Is that you made
Yes.
the choice that you think you could at that time.
That's so nice.
Hindsight is amazing.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, viewers, you are listening to our talk on blended parenting and mental wellness with one and only Danielle Olbrantz. And if you have questions or any comments, please feel free to reach out to us. And don't forget to subscribe to the Happiness Factors podcast and the Happiness Factors YouTube channel. Until next time, namaste, and don't forget to smile.